Well, folks, we have some bad news for an April Nintendo Direct today. As much as I don't want to make this video right now, we have heard from the original source that was saying that there would be an April Direct back in February. He's now saying not to expect it. He's no longer expecting a Nintendo Direct in April, which is definitely, a shame to hear. But of course, if you are new here and you enjoy Nintendo Switch news, speculation, discussions, theories, all of that stuff, I would appreciate you subscribing. Let's get into it. Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Botox Games. So yeah, yesterday I posted a video talking about how quiet Nintendo's being, kind of recapping the year so far, how I'm feeling as a creator, but also just a Nintendo fan that likes hyping things up and talking about exciting new announcements with all of you. I guess bad timing on my part, because in that video I was still saying, like, yeah, I'm expecting an April Direct, and while what we're hearing today, that and what we're covering in this video, while it doesn't necessarily deconfirm an April Direct, one of the main reasons a lot of people were expecting an April Direct or kind of hoping for an April Direct was from this one source who is now saying not to expect one, or at the very least that they're not expecting an April Direct. So kind of bad timing on yesterday's video. Also, I mentioned in that video, I don't like covering the same things over and over. If I can avoid making multiple videos about a Nintendo Direct in a row, if I can, I will do that. But I didn't want to leave you guys hanging because I know so many people in my audience are excited for a potential April Direct. I didn't want to just not post about this because I do feel like it is a pretty big deal and pretty damning, I don't want to say evidence, but it's pretty damning for a potential April Direct. So over on Famiboards, the popular Nintendo forum, we have the user Brazil here. This is the guy that initially said the Switch was being pushed to 2025. You can go check out my old videos on it. He was the original source on that. They're the ones that started it over one of the, I think it's PH Brazil podcast. And as soon as they reported it, every other outlet started reporting it. VGC, Eurogamer, Polygon, I think, like a ton of outlets were reporting that the Switch 2 was delayed to 2025 because of Brazil on their podcast. Now, around that same time, Brazil said that he was hearing that there was going to be an Indie World sometime in maybe late March, supposedly, and then following that into April, there would be an April kind of general Nintendo Direct, because in February, all we had was the partner showcase, which to me made perfect sense, especially if the Switch 2 actually was delayed. It makes sense that they would scramble to get a regular Direct going to showcase the lineup for Switch 1 in 2024. Well, today, or I guess yesterday on Famiboards, they posted a long post. I'm not going to read all of this. I'll put it up on screen. Pause if you want to read it. But essentially, it boils down to, yeah, there's not going to be a Direct in April. He says one source in particular that had talked about April Direct before is now expecting the next one to happen in the obvious Summer Games Fest timeframe, so late May, early June, and maybe even that could be wrong, but we will get PlayStation and Xbox events in that timeframe. We've already heard from other people that PlayStation will be having a showcase in May, so for me, if we're not getting an April Direct, yeah, I think June makes the most sense. I mean, it could be in May. I think the last time Nintendo had any sort of May Direct was it a Nintendo Direct Micro in 2015 where build trends like all small? Yeah, it's been a while since they had a Direct in May, so I would lean towards at this point, if we aren't getting one in April, it's probably not going to happen until June, and maybe even late June at that, because Xbox goes, I want to say, like that traditional E3 timeframe, so like June, 10th through the 15th, something like that. Recently, Nintendo's been doing it in the second half of June, so like in the 20s. So I think last year was what, June 21st, 23rd, something along those lines. I would expect a similar time for this Direct, which is interesting because, like I said in yesterday's video, I'm fine with waiting. I'm totally fine with that. But it does really make me question how quiet they've been, When Mario Day happened, why wasn't there a trailer for Thousand Year Door and Luigi's Mansion 2? Like, that would have been the perfect time to really show those games, but they didn't. So I have to imagine, like, leading up to Thousand Year Door, we're still going to get another trailer for that game. I mean, they've really only released the one. Even if there is no new content in it, which I do not believe, I do think there will be some sort of new story content in Thousand Year Door. But even if there isn't, they still need to release another trailer and show the game again. I guess they released the intro to the game, but that's not really that's not a trailer that you're going to put in ads, and that kind of stuff. And then for Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, we haven't seen anything from that game. since I mean, I guess we kind of saw like we saw the release date in March, but we haven't seen anything since September. And while I'm not expecting any major additions to Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, I would expect, maybe co-op or, something simple that they would want to advertise to sell that game. And we just haven't had that marketing for those two games, which should be pretty big sellers for Nintendo, even if they are ports and remakes and that kind of thing, right? So the lack of messaging on those two games in particular is very weird to me, as someone who has been following Nintendo since 2012 very closely. It's not too dissimilar to what happened in 2020 during the pandemic. However, that was during the pandemic. If we don't get an April Direct, that's, what is that, like, that's gonna be like 10 months in between Directs, 9 months, because the last one would have been in September for a traditional Nintendo Direct, with the only first-party announcement in between being Endless Ocean Luminous. Now, I'm not ruling out the possibility that maybe they announce a game for July on Twitter. I do think if we're getting a June Direct, that is far too late to announce a game for July. So maybe they announce something on Twitter. Maybe there's no July game at all. Maybe this really is going to be a very light year. But if you look at the Switch's release kind of calendar over the years, they've never missed July. July is a month they always release a game, and sometimes two. In fact, oftentimes they release 2 games in July. I know 2019 had multiple games. 2019 actually had 3 games they published, which is interesting. And then I know 2022 had Live Alive as well as Xenoblade Chronicles 3. So July is a month that Nintendo doesn't really miss. So it'd be weird for them to miss that. So if we're not getting an April Direct, maybe they announce something on Twitter. I was kind of joking with my buddy Abram, maybe like a Clubhouse Games 2 or something like that. That's the kind of game that would make sense for them to announce on Twitter. I mean, it would make sense to announce it in a Direct, but if there's not going to be a Direct, that wouldn't, like, break the internet or anything if they just announced it on Twitter. And then from there, it'd be fine because we'd be talking about games that will release in September. So June to September is a perfectly normal amount of time for Nintendo to announce and market a game. So we're really just wondering about that July game, which could be announced on Twitter, or maybe it's not happening at all. But then, yeah, Thousand Year Door and Luigi's Mansion 2, I just find very peculiar because it's like, these games, I understand they're old games. They need to be marketed. And I mean, I guess they could do it closer. I mean, we're still in April. I would still say I expect a Thousand Year Door trailer this month. Even without an April Direct, I would expect something. They could wait until the week after Endless Ocean releases, but at that point, I mean, it's only like 2 weeks from release. Like, press will probably have the game in their hands at that point, so I don't know if they'd want to wait that long. And then there is the whole matter of Switch 2, which, as the prophet that always predicted 2025, I have also been saying I expect some sort of Switch 2 confirmation before May 7th, which is when their investor call is. Because if it is releasing next fiscal year, you'd have to imagine they will want to inform investors that they will be, making a lot of money next fiscal year through the launch of a new console, new hardware. Even if it is just a press release. I'm not talking about a Switch 2 reveal trailer where they show the hardware and show the games. I'm just talking a press release like they did with the 3DS, where they just say, hey, new console coming out next March. Get excited. That way they can kind of talk about it to their investors without showing it to us, really, until they're fully ready to show all those games. I'm still totally expecting that to happen before May 7th. We'll just have to wait and see when. I guess maybe like the first week of May, like before the 7th, a couple days before, maybe the last week of April. Who knows? So I'm still expecting exciting things to happen in April, and if they don't happen, I won't be that disappointed, frankly, because to me, there's still so many things to play this right now on Switch. If you look at third-party stuff, there's a lot of stuff coming out that I'm personally excited for, but it is a weird time to be a Nintendo fan. We are in a void right now, absolutely. Where in 2020, it felt justified because of COVID. Right now, we're in a void due to self-inflicted Switch 2 delay, I guess, if that is what happened. So it just feels very weird. But, last night on Twitter, they did announce some more Switch Online games are available. I know that Euphoria game, like, what's it called? Like, Habareki, I think, or something along those lines in Japan, as well as, like, Wrecking Crew 98. So they added some cool Switch Online games for SNES. They also released the GDC panels for Tears of the Kingdom as well as Mario Wonder. So those are neat, like, little appetizers before a big announcement. But I know all of us are just waiting for a big Nintendo announcement. Even, well, I say big, I mean, even like a Mario Party. I'll take the scraps at this point. No offense to Mario Party. But yeah, I'll be curious to see what you all think in the comments down below. Are you feeling Are you feeling down right now as we are potentially not getting an April Direct? I know a lot of people in my comment section specifically have always been kind of cautious of believing that. I apologize if I hyped anybody up and, gave you false hope for an April Direct, but that's kind of what I'm here for, right? I love hype. I'm not doing it to get views. I'm not doing it to make money. I don't do this for a living. I just love Nintendo so much, and I want to get hyped about future announcements. So please forgive me if I ever hype up too much for some of these videos. But yeah, let me know how you're feeling in the comments down below. Are you still expecting some big announcements in April? I guess just dropped on Twitter. And are you content with the reality that we might be waiting until June for a regular Nintendo Direct? Let me know how you're feeling in the comments below. Of course, subscribe here for more Nintendo Switch news, reviews, coverage, all of that stuff. Gonna have some fun videos coming up here soon. I finished Dragon Quest 11 this morning, actually, so I will be doing a review of that. Very excited for that. And yeah, until next time, folks, peace.